Growth is not about doing more. It's about becoming more. And so the question you have to ask yourself is, what if you've been chasing the wrong version of growth all this time? We've all heard you're either growing or you're dying, right? It's that simple. And I think though, we often think growth comes from like whether it's grinding harder, maybe working longer hours, maybe it's achieving more. But true growth comes when you shed the old thinking patterns and you move past your comfort zone and you embrace discomfort. So I want you to ask yourself, are you really growing? Or are you just, busy? In today's episode, we're not going to talk about how to hustle harder or maybe work more hours, grind more. We're going to talk about building a growth mindset. And it's the single most important shift that you're going to need to make if you want to elevate your life in your business. By the end of this episode, you're going to walk away with actionable strategies to break free from the limiting thoughts, holding you back and start thinking at a level that's required if you want to achieve massive success. I'm Scott Joseph. I'm your host for Business Bourbon and Cigars. I've had the privilege of working with some of the world's most accomplished entrepreneurs and leaders. And let me tell you, every single one of them has had one thing in common, and that they're lifelong learners with a growth mindset. I've seen the transformative power of this mindset firsthand. I've used it to take my own businesses, to the next level. I've watched it spark breakthroughs in other leaders' careers. But man, as simple as it sounds, it all starts in your head. The real question is, are you willing to embrace the discomfort that comes with real growth? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to explore practical strategies to develop a growth mindset, and we're going to talk about how you can overcome the fixed way of thinking that's holding you back. Stick with me, because by the end, you're going to have the tools that you can start applying today to break through the mental barriers, that aren't letting you level up, whether it's professionally or personally. I want you to remember what I said in my opening. Growth, it's not about doing more. It's about becoming more. And let me share a pivotal moment in my own journey. This moment is about a lot more than just business strategies or market shifts. It's about recognizing the power of personal growth and how it directly impacted the way I ran my own business. A while back, I was stuck. From the outside, everything looked perfect. Multiple businesses, they're running smoothly, financial freedom. I had a lifestyle that allowed me to do pretty much anything I wanted to do. But deep down, something was missing. I had achieved what most people from the outside, I guess, would consider success. But for me, I just felt unfulfilled. And I was stuck in this old ways of thinking, believing that whether it was the strategies or the business models that I had put in place were the only path to success. Back then, I was still heavily involved in running J&L marketing, and I was focused a lot on our sales team, right? Sales were our bread and butter, and I felt like if we just worked harder, pushed more sales and optimized the process, we could reach up and reach higher and higher levels. But something wasn't, clicking. I was pushing harder, but I wasn't growing, and it's this disconnect. It just felt like this invisible wall that I could not break through. And I wasn't aware of it then, but really I'd fallen into a pattern, and it was a fixed mindset. I was too attached to what worked in the past. I didn't want to let go, of a model that had worked so well, even though the market was shifting, it's changing. Yeah. And this is where Jay Pepley comes in. It was around this time I got a message from Jay on LinkedIn. Now, normally, I'd have ignored it, but something in me told me to respond. There was an energy about her message that really resonated deeply with where I was at, and that was feeling stuck, unfulfilled. I was searching for something, I guess, more meaningful to me. We started talking, and what I didn't realize was, that those early conversations would really set off a chain of events that would completely transform my perspective, not just personally, but professionally. Jay's work with me didn't just shift my mindset, it made me confront my fears, my limitations, and my resistance to change. And by the way, I was under the false impression that I had no fears or problem breaking out of a comfort zone, that I loved change. What Jay did for me was she helped me dig deep into my true purpose, my fears, and most importantly, my potential. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't just a quick coaching session. She took me through a deep process of self-discovery. And we spent hours together peeling back layers of self-imposed, limitations, whether it's fear of failure or misconceptions about maybe what success really looked like. And I came to understand that I had been clinging to my past achievements instead of really embracing the future potential that was staring me right in the face. And then comes along this Costa Rica trip. Jay and I went on a retreat together. And it was in that intense, it was a very reflective environment that I gained clarity on what was missing in my business. And probably more importantly, in myself. I realized that in order to move forward, I had to let go of the old ways of doing things, including my attachment to a large traditional sales team. Speaking specifically about J&L here, this wasn't just a business decision. It was a personal awakening. I recognized that my resistance to change wasn't rooted in strategy. It was rooted in fear of letting go of what had worked and then stepping into the unknown. And this is where our current CEO, Jamil Zabaneh, enters the picture. When I brought Jamil in as CEO, he suggested a bold shift. He recommended that we reduce our large sales team and shift our focus to enhancing client support, marketing strategy and our data insights. And at the time I thought, this is a horrible idea, right? Sales had always been our core strength. How can we take away from that? Felt very risky, but after everything I had gone through with Jay, after recognizing that the real barrier to growth, was my own mindset, I finally saw what Jamil was saying. And I had to stop thinking like the old version of myself. Are you tired of hitting roadblocks in your business? Maybe you're feeling, overwhelmed by the challenges that never seem to end. No matter how hard you push, it feels like you're just stuck in the same place. You're trying to break through, but you never quite get there. I want you to imagine if you had the support of a community of top-tier business leaders who understand your struggles because they've all been there. More importantly, they're ready to help you overcome them. The Business, Bourbon, and Cigars Leadership Retreat, it's exactly what you need. This is not just a typical business event. It's where visionary entrepreneurs, they come together to tackle their biggest obstacles, learn innovative strategies. They're there to build meaningful relationships that can propel their businesses forward. You're going to leave with actionable insights and a network of powerful connections that are ready to take your leadership to a new height. But here's the thing. The unexpected benefit that you're going to get from attending this retreat is really the deep, genuine relationships that you're going to build with other like-minded entrepreneurs. The way our mastermind process works at these events means that you're not just learning strategies and solving challenges. You're actively helping others in the group while receiving much more in return. And it's this collaborative environment that really fosters powerful connections. And the relationships built here tend to be stronger and they form faster than you ever might, expect. These aren't just contacts or acquaintances. They're true allies who are going to continue to support you long after this event ends. And yes, we're focusing hard on business growth. But let's not forget, the Business, Bourbon, and Cigars Leadership Retreat, it's also a lot of fun. So this community, it's real, it's welcoming, and it's built for entrepreneurs who want to level up, learn, and grow together. You're going to walk away not only with a game plan for your business, but also a group of genuine, high-caliber relationships that are going to take your business even further than anything you've ever imagined. So I've got a special offer for you today. The first 5 people that are watching or listening to this episode are going to receive 50% off their ticket to attend the next retreat. Don't miss out. This opportunity is limited. Spots always fill up fast. So visit meplusultra.com/BBC50 or click the link in the show notes and you'll get a 50% discount code. Then secure your spot for Business, Bourbon, and Cigars Leadership Retreat. This shift, it wasn't just about scaling back a sales team. It was about pivoting to what really mattered, deepening our client relationships, providing superior support, and innovating in ways that we had not done before. And so, in the end, the result, it's never the end, right? But in the end, over the next few years, our business grew over 300%. Client retention increased, referrals skyrocketed. And most importantly, we started seeing ROI for our clients that was 3 times higher than competitors were delivering. So what happened in Costa Rica with Jay didn't just change the way, I looked at myself. It changed the way I looked at my business and my team. It made me realize that growth isn't just about adding more. It's about evolving your approach, your mindset, and your ability to adapt. I feel like this transformation, it taught me something very crucial. The hardest part of growth isn't external. It's internal. It's about overcoming your own limiting beliefs and being willing to pivot, even when it feels, uncomfortable or risky. If I had stayed in my old mindset, I would have missed out on that kind of growth that completely transformed my business and my life. By the way, in my opinion, pivoting when you've already having huge success, it takes a lot more guts than doing it when you feel like you have nothing else to lose. Anybody can pivot or make a change when they have to. And here's the connection that ties all this together. Growth is not about doing more, right? It's about becoming more. I had spent so much time thinking that growth meant, adding more sales, more processes, more activity. But what I didn't realize until that journey with Jay was that real growth came from shedding the old mindset and becoming someone capable of adapting to the future and not just clinging to past success. So ask yourself, what if, like I had done in the past, you've been chasing the wrong version of growth all this time? So let's break down how you can develop and maintain a growth mindset. Because here's the truth. If you're not intentionally evolving, your think, you're staying stuck. So first thing we want to do is we got to embrace challenges. Growth never comes from comfort. If you're not facing challenges, you're not growing. The biggest breakthroughs happen, when we push through what feels impossible. So the next time that you face a challenge, don't back away from it. Don't procrastinate. Lean into it and ask yourself, what's the lesson here? The more you embrace discomfort, the stronger you become. The second step is you got to reframe, failures as learning experiences. In a fixed mindset, failure is seen as an endpoint. But in a growth mindset, failure is just feedback. It's part of the process. It's the path to success. So quick tip here. When you fail, don't wallow in it. Analyze it. Ask yourself, what did this teach me? Reframing failure, as a lesson will build your resilience and it's going to help you grow faster. The third step, cultivate curiosity and continuous learning. Growth mindset thrives on curiosity. The best leaders don't stop learning. They don't just rely on what they already know. They push themselves to learn more and explore new ideas. So commit to learning something new every week. It could be a book that you're doing, a podcast, maybe you're attending a webinar. The more you learn, the more you grow. Step 4, surround yourself with growth-oriented people. And you've probably heard this before, but you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you're not around people who challenge you, inspire you, and push you to think bigger, your growth is just going to stagnate. And if you're not growing, you're dying. So seek out mentors and peers who are growth focused. Get into rooms that challenge your thinking, like masterminds, conferences, different networking events. Surround yourself with people who push you to do more. I can't remember who I heard this quote from, but I've always liked it. Growth is painful, change is painful, but nothing is as painful as staying stuck somewhere you don't belong. Growth is a game changer. It's the difference between staying stuck and creating the life and the business that you've always dreamed of. If you're not growing, you're dying. So here's a challenge for today. I want you to pick one area of whether it's your business or your life, where you might be resisting change. Embrace it as an opportunity to grow. What's the one step you can take today to shift your mindset and start growing? If you're serious about scaling your business and pushing your leadership to the next level, you don't want to miss the next Business, Bourbon, and Cigars Leadership Retreat. This is your opportunity to join a select group of entrepreneurs and executives for an exclusive experience. Man, it's going to be filled with strategies for innovation, sustainable growth, and client-centric leadership. We talked a lot today about pushing out of your comfort zone and growing more. This leadership retreat and this community will help you do exactly that. So I've got a special offer. Act quick on this because it won't last long. The first 5 people who are watching or listening to this episode, you're going to receive 50% off your ticket to attend the next retreat. Do not miss out. This is an opportunity that's limited. The spots will fill up fast. Visit meplusultra.com/BBC50 or click the link in the show notes to claim your 50% discount code and make sure you secure your spot at the Business, Bourbon, and Cigars Leadership Retreat. So I'll leave you with this. Growth isn't about adding more to your plate. It's about evolving your mindset to unlock what's already inside you. Cheers, everyone.